In this video, we'll be showing you how to select specific colors for your design and a couple other options that go along with it. To begin, we'll first need to navigate over to our needle page. To do so, there are two different ways. Either first, from our home screen, we'll navigate to the option that has 3 needles and 3 cones of thread, or we can select our menu icon down on the bottom right hand side of our panel, and we'll select our needle option. Now in Needle, this is where I'm able to select exactly what color is going where. To do so, the color that is currently showing and the needle selection that's currently highlighted is the one I currently have access to change. Now as soon as I select the color of this first one, it'll automatically take me to my second color or needle selection to choose. So let's say instead of this red, I want to change it to blue at needle number 1. I'll select it, we'll see that it changes the color, but it'll float me to the second color in my design to go ahead and select. Down at the bottom, we have a couple different options to start playing around with our design or with our colors. Starting from the left, this first icon is called our frame out option. This is mainly going to be used for patch applications. When we select it, you'll notice it adds a hoop to whatever needle we're currently hovered over. And what that'll do is it'll allow us to place down applique, cut out extra threads, or get ready to do patches. What it fully does is as soon as this color finishes embroidering, my machine will stop and the frame will physically move out towards me. That way I don't have to work underneath the needles if I'm placing applique or cleaning out the design. Right next to it, the stop feature is going to be mainly useful for 3D puff embroidery. With 3D puff, we want to try to match the color of the foam up with the color of the thread we're using. So let's say this A was 3D, the P was a different 3D, and our last color is just a regular flat. From this first guy where we place down the 3D, we'll add a stop, so as soon as this color finishes embroidering, my machine will stop and will not start again until I press start. That will allow me to peel off the yellow foam and go ahead and place down the green foam. Now we'll also set a stop on the green foam, so as soon as it's finished I can peel it off and continue with the rest of my flat design. But if we're not using 3D or doing patches, we won't need either of these two options. Now, if all of these colors are technically different needle selections, but they're all supposed to be the same color, let's say we're doing happy all red here, we can add this no thread cut option to every single color associated with this work. What that'll do is it'll stop my machine from doing a thread cut. That way if this is all one color, instead of doing a thread cut for each individual letter, it'll just embroider right through and save me about 2 minutes. Now, off on the right hand side here, we have a couple of different options to start playing around with the design even more. The magnifying glass, if we click on it, will give us a big kind of mock stitch view of how the design will look, while telling me the design name, the stitch count, how many colors, and the size of the design. Right underneath, this icon here will allow me to sequence colors through my design. So down here we can see we have a 15 color design, and now let's say it's just the same 5 colors embroidering over entirely, right? So we have these first 5 going through the remainder of the design. Instead of having to set these same colors all the way through, I can set the first 5. I'll press this icon here, and it's going to sequence those colors through the remainder of the design for me. Right underneath, the 2 needles here going from blue to green, this will allow me to change numerous different needle selections at the same time. So let's say instead of the needle ones that I have set all the way through the design, let's say I messed up and I really wanted them to be this yellow on needle number 12. Instead of having to go through and individually changing each one, we can click on this icon here, the blue needle switching to the green needle. We can select whatever needle selection we want to change. In this case, we'll go with needle 1. And this menu right here is telling me needle number 1 is going to change to needle number 1. So let's say instead of 1, I needed it to be 12. We'll click on needle 12 or whatever color we want it to switch to. And this is now telling us needle number 1 will change to needle 12. We'll press OK one more time, and everything that was just selected as needle number 1 has changed to needle 12. Now, if we want these colors to match with exactly what's on our machine, let's say instead of one being blue, we have a gray on there. To change it so it accurately represents the top of our machine, right in the middle of our right-hand options, we have this little paint palette looking option. We'll click on it, and it'll again show me needles 1 through needle 7, 12, 15, whatever machine you have. In that case, let's say instead of blue on number 1, I have an orange. We'll click on whatever needle we want to change. It'll show us a bunch of different colors to choose from, and I just need to get as close to the color I actually have on the machine as possible. But if you want to get closer to the exact shade, and we don't see it here, we can click on the 70 to 256 to get a lot more colors out of it. Once we're finished with that, these last two icons down here will allow me to download all 15 of these colors and upload them onto a different design. That way, if I have multiple designs that have the same color setup, rather than having to set them manually, I can just download and then re-upload them onto a different design.